Welcome to Ossing's third annual Pride Flag Raising. It's great to see you all here today in person and virtually. Last year looked really different. With the New York State 10-person limit, we had a total of 9 people at last year's flag raising, with all flags at half-mast. There were no microphones, no podiums, just a phone duct taped to a hockey stick to capture the moment. I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of terrifying, and I also had a really terrible pandemic hairstyle. But the silver lining was being able to solely focus and amplify our queer voices, and I'm happy to continue that tradition today.
Yeah.
Before we begin, I'd like to thank those who helped make this happen. Mayor Levin, who could not be here today, Jamie Hoffman and the Village Manager's Office for your efforts to dot every I and cross every T, and also entertaining my panicked phone calls. The Juneteenth Council for coordinating sharing this space with us. Congratulations on making history on your first flag raising. Speakers Kiara Taylor, Justin Knowles, Cole Rivers, and our elected officials who are also speaking today, Senator Elijah Melnick, Supervisor Dana Levenberg, and Trustee Dana White. Our first speaker is Kiara Taylor. Kiara is an activist, Latina born in Caguas, Puerto Rico, and represents Kiara Taylor, Trans New York LGBTQ+. She is focused on the LGBTQ+ outreach, which includes trans community, gender nonconforming, and gender non-binary rights, inclusion, equality, community member protection laws, and safety. She is a member of the Ossining LGBTQ Alliance, founded by Christina Picciano, an amazing volunteer organization that promotes a safe and welcoming environment for our community. She is also a board member of Legal Services of Hudson Valley, representing the Latin community. Kiara Taylor has worked as a volunteer for the Lost LGBTQ Community Center, as a group facilitator and peer navigator for the amazing Proud West Me program, which provides different community resources for the trans community, including non-conforming and non-binary people. Her superpowers are love and empowerment. Please welcome Kiara Taylor.
Gee, Christina, I thought you didn't want to finish that one. Hello, everyone. How's everyone this morning? Thank you so much. For me, it's a pleasure this morning to be here. I'm Kiara Taylor, pronounced she, hers. Glad to be working with the LGBTQ plus Ossining Alliance, and also being part of the community Ossining for so many years. I think about 39 years being here. So last year was so different. Last year, I remember it was my first stand. First time we didn't have any microphone, anything really to, that we can at least, lay ourselves to be more comfortable. But anyway, but we learned a lot of things last year, right? We learned about getting to know who really we are, getting to know our skills, getting to know our powers. And the most important thing is that it gave us the opportunity to understand others, and get along much better and understand and go through the pain for those who lost a lot of their family members and so on. So it's a pleasure, in order to be here to share. The LGBTQ plus community last year was very affected. We also have a lot of deaths with the trans community, especially the Hispanic people of color. And this year, we want to work hard. We want to work hard. We want to work with the communities. We want to work with the school. We want to work with the parents. We encounter a lot of individuals with so many problems, and especially confronting the aspect of coming out. And it's very normal for different culture, and including our Latino culture as well. And we wanted to really work. We wanted to celebrate Pride this year in a way that it was going to be more special than the last years. And also, just to finish, thank you for the opportunity, and I'm going to translate this in Spanish because I know I'm going to have audience in Spanish. So, muchas gracias a todos ustedes, la gente latina, de la comunidad LGBTQ+. Con mucho gusto en esta mañana aquí representando la comunidad LGBTQ en todos los aspectos de nuestros derechos y dándonos en esta mañana la oportunidad de poder levantar nuestra bandera aquí en el pueblo de Austin. Les deseo a todos que pasen una feliz mes de Pride y puedan compartirlo mucho mejor y podamos sobre todas las cosas mantener un espacio digno y seguro. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiara. I'd like to announce our next speaker, Justin Knowles. Justin Knowles was born and raised in Austin and is currently a junior at OHS. He's the president of the Sexuality Gender Acceptance Club and current board member and secretary of Student Organizers for Justice and Liberation, a youth organization focused on fighting for social justice issues. He is also currently a youth participant at Outcasting Media, an LGBTQ public radio organization that covers issues regarding the LGBT community while also giving the perspective of LGBTQ youth. Justin plans on graduating OHS next year, then going to a 4-year SUNY college majoring in business and minoring in sociology. Please give a warm welcome to Justin.
Hi. Okay. So first and foremost, I'd like to thank the Village of Austining and the Austining LGBTQ+ Alliance for hosting this event, as well as Christina for inviting me here. It really means the most to me that there are people that are actively looking to amplify LGBTQ youth voices. When Christina asked me to speak today, I had no clue what I wanted to share with you all. I decided that I wanted to share a story of mine that reminds me of why we need this pride to raise high and proud. So here's my story. I had a very rough middle school experience. I had a lot of family issues, and I didn't have a good sense of what being Black meant in my own life, let alone my sexuality and gender expression. By the time I was in 6th grade, I had learned that there were LGBTQ people with social media integrations, but I still didn't know anyone in my life who was actually gay, bi, or anything other than straight. At the time, I thought I was straight, but I felt that LGBTQ equality was very important. I wasn't scared to be feminine or accidentally become gay in school because I was straight. In my general music class, I had made friends with this boy, making nothing of it. We talked casually in class and laughed at the jokes we did together. But one day in class, he started to kick the back of my chair and annoy me for no reason. I told him to stop a few times, but he wouldn't listen. When I turned around and asked him to stop again, he said, "What are you gonna do about it, queer?" When he said this, it hurt me much more than I thought it would have. I had been bullied when I was in 2nd grade, but at that point, I was just a loud, happy kid. So when I was bullied back then, I didn't think about it very much. But this time, it was different. This boy just kept yelling at me, and each time he called me queer or used the F slur, it hurt more and more. I was so confused about why he was calling me all these slurs and why it hurt me so much. Other students had made fun of me and my friends, but as long as I was in a group with them, I usually brushed it off. But this is a direct one-on-one attack, and his words stuck with me. He was like any other middle school boy, immature, funny, and nice. He wasn't the angry side of it, so why was he yelling at me and calling me these words? I got overwhelmed and started to cry. My music teacher took me to the side when she saw me crying and asked me what was happening and how she could help. I explained what he said and done, and she looked very concerned about me and the situation at hand. There wasn't much class time left, so she let me leave class early, but I thought I'd be prepared outside to talk to him. The next day in gym class, I came out of the locker room and he asked if this is how to talk to me. I reluctantly said yes and he apologized to me. It caught me very off guard. It seemed that my teacher had told me to apologize to me, but then it also seemed that he knew what he did was wrong, and he was very remorseful and empathetic. This was the first time that someone had bullied me into tears, and it was the first time a bully apologized to me. I was 11, and at the time, it really affected me because I had never faced blatant homophobia like this before. It hurt me a lot, but it helped that I had learned online about LGBTQ people. In particular, I was lucky to have a supportive teacher by my side. Some kids are not as fortunate as I was, when they believe they have to go through it alone without any help from an adult or comfort from the internet. The Chapter Project, an LGBTQ youth suicide hotline, reported that LGBTQ youth who have at least one accepting adult in their life are 40% less likely to have attempted suicide in the past year. They also report that only 43% of LGBTQ youth have shared their sexual orientation with a teacher or guidance counselor. For me, that's a really hard pill to swallow. It truly shows how fragile and impressionable young kids can be, and how difficult it is to even find an adult to trust, and how even just one accepting adult and supportive adult can change the direction of an LGBTQ child's life. Looking back, my experience with bullying taught me a lot. They taught me how to handle bullies and how to help others if they're getting bullied. They also taught me forgiveness and attitude on maturity. I recently adopted that music teacher, and that music teacher is, funny enough, Miss Christine Reginelli in the back of the crowd. Shout out to her, she was doing very well, and I really do appreciate how well she did it. Because we're all kids, and for me, having her be there for me and be that supportive was very important. And she told me that I tried to play it off like it didn't bother me, and I could see how much it did hurt me. But I've grown since then, and I understand that I didn't do anything wrong, and that nothing about my identity is wrong. I also understand how lucky I was, and still am, to have supportive adults behind me. Shouldn't all kids have a supportive adult in their life like I did? That's all. Thank you for listening to my story. I deeply appreciate it.
Thank you, Justin, for your powerful words. I'd also like to just recognize some of our elected officials that are here, past and present. Town Justice Ben Levitt, Town Councilperson Liz Miller-Feldman, Senator Elijah Reichling-Melnick, former Mayor Victoria Garrity, and Town Supervisor Dana Levenberg, and Trustee Dana White. And if I forgot anyone, just yell at me. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Senator Elijah Reichling-Melnick. And I also just want to mention that he is doing an amazing event on Sunday in Nyack called LGBTQ+ Heroes, honoring local queer trailblazers in our community in Ossining and in Rockland. So it's free. Please come by. It's going to be a great time.
And who's one of them?
And I am one of them. But it's not about me. Please just come. It's a whole day of Pride events in Nyack. I think they're closing the street, so thank you, Elijah, for organizing that, and your staff.
Thank you, Christina, and congratulations. Happy to honor you and Kiara, too. So we're going to have two wonderful honorees from Ossining, along with some honorees from the Rockland part of my district. It's going to be a great all-day. Nyack, Village of Nyack is closing off most of the main streets. And it's going to be a lot of Pride celebrations. The one where we're going to be honoring the two of you and some other heroes of the community is at 12:30 right in downtown Nyack at Veterans Memorial Park Gazebo. So please come on by if you can. There'll be a lot of other good ways. And it's a good way to connect people on both sides of this district, on both sides of the river. So it's really an honor to be here. Thank you for including me in this program. Justin, you are a tough act to follow. And you have such a powerful story, and even though you're still in high school, you speak better than most people I know in politics. So congratulations for having the courage to be here, to speak your truth and tell your story to all of us, and I know you're going to do some amazing things. This isn't an event about me, it's an event about the community, and so I just want to say I am proud to be here with everybody as we raise this flag, as we celebrate the challenges that people in the LGBTQ+ community have gone through, continue to struggle with. We think of New York certainly as a progressive state, and in many ways we are, but we are still making progress in these areas. I'm new in the Senate, but it was only 2 years ago that we finally passed, in 2019, the Agenda Act, which actually prohibited the kind of discrimination that had been going on for so long. And it's crazy, because until this was signed into law in 2019, it was still legal for an employer to fire somebody and say, well, why did I fire you? Because I don't like that you are LGBTQ. And that was legal until 2.5 years ago in New York State. And we are still making progress now. This year, we passed and was signed the bill to end this discriminatory crime called walking while trans, which was used especially in New York City to harass particularly trans women of color who were just harassed by the NYPD for simply walking down the street. That was banned. And we are still taking action today, setting up task force to look at this issue of suicide in LGBTQ youth, setting up a passing bill just this past week to extend the non-discrimination which already covers most housing to all housing. There was a carve-out that if you are in a small apartment or if it's an owner-occupied or a two-family house, that the owner could say, I don't want to rent to you because I don't like that you are LGBTQ. And that is still legal in New York today until this bill gets passed and hopefully signed by the governor. So we have a lot of work to do. I am committed to working on that fight. And I, again, just thank you so much for being here. It's taken courage to get to the place where we have a community that is welcoming and accepting. And it's taken people standing up and over the years being clear about who they are and coming out of the shadows and making sure that we all in the community have a place that is welcoming, that is accepting, that is loving of who everybody is. And we need to continue that, and I am ready to work with you all to do that. Thank you so much for including me, and happy Pride Month.
Thank you, Elijah. Our next speaker is Town Supervisor Dana Levenberg. Dana Levenberg was at the first flag raising, which was at Village Hall, and I know she would have been at the last one if it wasn't for the limit. So, yeah, please give a warm welcome to our Town Supervisor Dana Levenberg.
Thank you, Christina. Yes, I do remember being sad that I could not be here last year. And it's so interesting to hear everybody talking about the pandemic, and as we're, I actually walked here today and realized I forgot my mask, which is not good that I'm there, right? Yes, I'm vaccinated, but I actually forgot my mask, so thank you, Maddie, for lending me your mask. But it really is incredible how far we have come and what a difficult year it has been, and how much that this past year the pandemic has really pointed out so many inequities in our community and hopefully given us the vision to see what we have to do. I want to also just acknowledge that I am here today with Town Council member Liz Belden, as she was just introduced also, and I know that I speak on behalf of the entire town to say that we are so proud to be part of a community like Ossining that embraces pride, and that the LGBTQ plus community, we do that with pride in an official capacity. The pride flag is much more than a representative rainbow. Having the pride flag fly in Market Square is a reminder to all residents and all visitors that hate will not be tolerated here. It symbolizes acceptance and love of all people, no matter gender identity or whom we choose to love. Raising the pride flag, recognizing Pride Month is also a chance to highlight the great achievements made by our LGBTQ plus friends and neighbors and young people, and yes, your friends and neighbors too, but I just want to highlight because Justin, your words were so incredibly moving. Yes, I was crying, I'm sure, but everybody else, including Christine and Janelle, oh my God, that's just so incredibly moving. So thank you for those words. It's also a reflection of the years and lives that have been lost to prejudice, and it's a reflection of those many children who have been bullied. Having just gotten together on Tuesday at the same spot to raise the flag for Juneteenth, and now to be back for the Pride flag really gives us pause. Are these flags just tokens, or are they in fact symbols of real progress? While we may not be able to yet say yes, we have arrived at a day when we all are treated with the dignity and respect that we deserve, with equal opportunities, with fair consideration in everything. We can certainly say making official statements that this is what we believe should be, and that this is what we hope to achieve, and that this is what we will work to accomplish, is in fact a critical step. I was reminded the other day after sending out the press release about the flag raising for Juneteenth and receiving a cowardly, hateful response that we do have so much work still ahead to achieve our goals. But if we do not press through these types of symbols and statements and embrace their meaning in our everyday work, we will never get there. I am so grateful to be a part of today's ceremony on behalf of the town board, and I am thankful and proud to be part of the Ossining community. Happy Pride.
Thank you so much, Town Supervisor Deanna. I'm going to be giving my remarks. If you don't know who I am, my name is Christina Pachano, and I'm the founder of the Ossining LGBTQ Alliance. Last year, Pride was quiet. The bars were closed. There were no parties, parades, drag shows, or concerts. It gave us time to focus and reflect and remind us what Pride really means. We held virtual celebrations and workshops, took time for self-care, and most importantly, shifted our conversation to intersectionality, to political action, and standing in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement. When we see Pride now, many of us think of parades, rainbow logos, merchandise, parties, events. And I'm so grateful to live in an area where I can't physically make every Pride event in the Hudson Valley. We are bursting with pride. But June is a time when we ask ourselves, what is Pride? What have we overcome? Where are we now? And how can we grow and move forward? In June, we honor and remember our trailblazers of the past, we celebrate the present, and we must think about the future. There has been a traumatic amount of pain and suffering from our community, and we must hold space for that. We've come a long way, but the work most definitely isn't over. Before the Stonewall riots, it was illegal to kiss or hold hands in public. Our spaces were raided by police. Queer people were subjected to police violence and brutality over and over again. Stonewall was a direct response to this and a catalyst to the LGBTQ+ movement. We have trans women of color to thank for throwing the first brick. But change takes time. And after Stonewall, we still had a long way to go. After Stonewall, transgender women were often pushed out of the movement. At the Pride March of 1973, Sylvia Rivera, a trans woman on the front lines of Stonewall, was repeatedly blocked from speaking and eventually booed off stage. After Stonewall, we could still not get married. We were fired for our sexuality and gender identity. We were kicked out of our homes, our churches. We endured the AIDS epidemic on our own, shunned, ignored, and shamed by our government. Can you imagine being ignored and shunned during this pandemic? Unfortunately, our community was already familiar with Heart Island burials that we heard about in 2020. There were no hate crime protections. We were banned from military service, denied health care. So many were in hiding, and so many still are today. We must remember our past so that we can celebrate our present. Right now, we've had historic wins with marriage equality, agenda, the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, the repeal of the trans military ban. We have more access to HIV awareness and preventative treatment. We have more representation in government and media. We are sharing our pronouns. And right here in Ossining, we've made great strides. We have a vibrant youth organization in the high school, starting with the GSA and evolving to Saga. We have gender-neutral bathroom signage in our municipal buildings, the first in the state. We have local businesses right here in downtown that amplify, uplift the LGBTQ+ community all year round. We have just started to have conversations about policing in our community. And what does the future hold for Pride? What work needs to be done? 33 states have introduced more than 100 bills that aim to curb the rights of transgender people across the country, with advocacy groups calling 2021 a record-breaking year for such legislation. The majority is affecting transgender youth. It's still legal to use a panic defense in the majority of the country. We need to pass the Equality Act. We need to protect our youth. and address violence toward our community. Pride has to move forward on an intersectional level. Pride needs to be equitable for all. I won't rest until my community is safe. I always say to our youth that it gets better, but it only gets better because of people like all of you here today. Everyone who showed up today sends a clear message to our community that we matter. Thank you. Thank you to our allies, to the parents that love and embrace us, to the politicians who see us and hear us, to the teachers that listen to us, to those who employ us, the church leaders who open their doors to us, grassroots organizers and volunteers, and especially our LGBTQ+ community. Thank you for being your authentic self. You are beautiful. You are loved. You are welcome. Thank you. Our next speaker is Village Trustee Dana White.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dana White, and I'm an ally. Mayor Rick Lemon cannot be here today, so I am going to read her statement that she sent in honor of Pride Month. She says, I wish I were there with you to raise this flag of consciousness in the middle of our village. Unfortunately, a family matter required my attention, and I am out of town. Let me start with gratitude. Thank you to Christina and all members of our LGBTQ+ community who have the courage to stand up and bring pride to Ossining. I hope that we as a community will live up to the task at hand, and that one day we will not see the differences of people, but rather the similarities and commonalities of people. Until such a time, we raise a flag to commemorate our differences and to include all members of our community. It's a beautiful flag, one that shows our diversity. We should keep calm in the face of difference, and the community at large would be better off if we live our lives in a state of inclusion and wonder at the diversity of humanity in our community. Ossining is proud today. I am proud today. The more I've been able to learn about gay rights and equal pay and gender equity and racial inequality, the more I see how it all intersects. You can't really pick it apart. It's all intertwined, and it is all part of true justice. Let us take the time to learn about each other and improve people's lives. On behalf of myself and the Board of Trustees, I thank you all for joining us today. And now I'll add a few of my own remarks. On June 28, 1969, in Greenwich Village, hundreds of members of the gay community had finally had enough. During a police raid on a gay bar, the Stonewall Inn, in which patrons were arrested and roughed up and bullied and abused as they had been for many years, they fought back. And the 6 days of violent protest that followed sparked the modern gay rights movement. The first Pride flag flew in 1978 during Gay Freedom Day in San Francisco. More than 50 years after Stonewall, the shameful days when LGBTQ+ Americans were forced to hide who they were and then to fight for who they were may seem far behind us, but they are not. You are our friends. You are our family. My own father-in-law was forced to hide his sexuality because he was a psychiatrist. And in the 1950s and 60s, homosexuality was considered a mental illness. To have been open about his sexuality would have meant the death of his career. He was able in the later years of his life to be more open. He had a longtime companion, Gregory, who passed away recently. We called Gregory our stepfather. For even though they were not allowed to be married, and by the time they could, unfortunately, Saul was no longer in a state of mind to know what was happening. We always knew that Gregory was our family, and I always wished that Saul could have expressed who he was authentically throughout his entire life. Violence and mockery are too often expressed against our gay brothers and sisters and our non-binary friends. Why, just the other day, over Memorial Day weekend on the lake in Spokane, Washington, a boat flying the pride flag was harassed and mocked by another group with gay slurs and obscene gestures. Suddenly, the harasser's vessel burst into flames, and the gay pride boaters rescued them from the water. We call that karma. We are here largely due to the efforts of Cristina Picciano, founder of the Ossining LGBTQ Alliance. I and we commend her passion and courage and thoughtful advocacy. She is small, but she is mighty. This Saturday, all right, mic drop. This Saturday, Senator Elijah Reitland Melnick will honor her and other LGBTQ heroes at a ceremony in Nyack. The village of Ossining is itself proud to fly this flag over our downtown. It symbolizes our dedication to the acceptance of all people, regardless of who they love. We embrace you, we support you, we love you.
Thank you so much, Dana White. I'd like to call our next speaker, Cole Rivers. Cole Rivers is a Ossining Pride flag raising VIP. He has attended and spoken at all 3 events. We have a couple of VIPs here. Former Mayor Victoria Garrity, my wife Julie, who has been really supportive and helped me duct tape this flag to the podium. But anyways, Cole River is a poet and writer of trans experience. Formerly an Ossining resident, professionally he roasts coffee locally for the Black Cow Coffee Company. Cole has curated, hosted, and performed for various progressive platforms and community-based events. He continues to cultivate innovative experiences that center on active dialogues on intersectionality, human apartheid, queer, and spiritual identity. And I am proud and honored to call Cole my friend.
Hello, Ossining. Look, the sun has just broken just for us. So beautiful. Thank you for having me here for my queer community. Wow, this is intense. Hold on. Yeah, so for my queer community and for all you folks for being here today, I really deeply appreciate this moment and this point in time for us. So for me, it's really important at this time what it really means for us to be seen as a people, to be seen as human beings, and to also really live authentically in our person and who we are. And so being seen is an act of appreciation, to respectfully acknowledge humanness in another person. We allow ourselves to truthfully see one another. We are redeeming our hearts, the audacity and humility to connect with the life force of an existing human being. Being seen is respecting someone's right to live a full, authentic life of their own making. While words of appreciation are heard, rarely are they shown consistently. Rarely is the queer, trans, and non-binary community seen until June. Arduous efforts and lives have been sacrificed, extending far beyond these recent years. And we are still reaching with wide limbs for our lives and humanity to actively matter, for our physical and mental health to matter, our bodies to matter, our livelihoods to matter, our communities to matter. And it's so important that we are able to be seen visibly, just like, it has been shared that, especially within my youth and also, when I was in high school, I was deeply bullied. I was deeply, terrorized for being who I am. And that's just being youthful. That's without even being queer. It's just being a human being. We taunt each other for our differences, and I really do not understand it. I don't understand it. And this flag raising, while it is beautiful and, it's definitely something that we need within our community, and it raises the bar to how we are able to see ourselves. I really would love it if we were able to do that on our everyday life past June and just throughout the year and in our daily lives. So I'm gonna close with a poem because I normally do. So here we go. Tell me of smiling for no cause, 'cause I'm black. And being black, claiming joy is a revolutionary act not all of us choose to afford. For it holds a great price to value the existence of our experiences, our brown bodies unearthed onto itself, igniting burning stars to illuminate the wish that we will all be free within ourselves. I too am a black wish, a river, a dream. I'm affirmations prayed for beneath the soil and bedrock from which I'm standing, keeping me still and upright. I too am exhausted of speaking of what I am just to be seen, holding space for whiteness which considers no space for me. For those black like me, queer like me, trans like me, other like me, I'm traumatized that I too will die without joy for being me. Still, I am told to smile and speak when asked to, without remembering my father's illiteracy, my mother's hysterectomy, and my body, a trauma response of fear and shame that lies at the edge of my full lips, showed me a brown body that is ridding of shame and a supreme joy, because most of us are broken and unlearning to learn, to heal ourselves, love our bodies, to not cause them harm, and proclaim our wide outstretched blackness. I too am named the contradiction of intersectionality, which has no boundaries, cause to be born black is to be born bound until allowing yourself the agency to become free of what was never offered to you, but told you had to earn amid slavery, abandonment, rape, castration, hatred, brutality, poverty, injustice, murder, suicide, gaslighting, neglect, discrimination, profiling, incarceration, gentrification, hashtags and body bags, and being told what it means to be anti-racist, naming and redefining unjust actions of whiteness that happened here for years and will be when I die, yet respectfully I smile to a white woman in the elevator who anxiously clenches her presence while I another one of my black sisters, another one of my black trans sisters has been murdered. Candidly, I internally make apologies for myself for existing when there is no apology necessary, but this is what whiteness does to an oppressed black body that labors to smile for no cause to smile for. Thank you.
Thank you, Cole, for your powerful words. That concludes the speaking part of the flag raising. If you could draw your attention behind you, we will raise the pride flag, and then afterwards, you're going to take a picture.